Hi, I'm Phil and welcome to Dodec Builds for part 3 of Warp Core Wednesday. This is a continuation of my series where I 3D print and build the warp core of the USS Enterprise D from Star Trek The Next Generation. In this part I'll be showing you how to install the controller software for the warp core and also how to resolve some issues I encountered along the way. First off, what is a control software? The LED lights in the warp core are programmable and therefore need to be controlled by some software. What I'm using here is the software WLED, which Crazy J has provided the config and presets for on his page on Makerworld. If everything is working well, then all you should need to do is search for WLED install and browse to that site. If it doesn't come up in search, simply enter install.wled.me into your browser. Once the page loads, just click install and then select your USB port from the pop-up window that comes up. A wizard will then guide you through the installation. It will take a little while for that to complete, probably about a minute, and then it will prompt you for your Wi-Fi settings so it connects to your home Wi-Fi. When the installation is complete, WLED will load the actual configuration from your board. So make a note of the IP that it goes to when it does this, because that's what you'll use for all future configuration. If you've got through that without problems, then congratulations! You're much luckier than me, and that means you can probably skip the next section on troubleshooting. Alright, on to troubleshooting then. I encountered two problems while trying to get this working, and the symptoms were basically the same. When I selected install from the WLE page, it didn't come up with anything in the pop-up window, so it wasn't detecting my control board at all. Clicking cancel then showed a troubleshooting guide. The first thing to know is these control boards have a USB controller which allows it to appear as a serial port when connected to your computer. In my case, the controller is a CH340, however, that varies, so different boards will have different controllers. The troubleshooting guide does have a selection and it also links out to the driver sites for that. You'll need to consult your own documentation to see what type of controller your board is using. I found the details for mine on the Amazon listing where I bought it, so it had a list of the specifications, which included telling me it was a CH340 in mine. On that basis, I simply followed the link that came up in the WLED troubleshooting, downloaded the drivers after switching the language to English, and then installed them. I tried again, but it still didn't work. I was a bit concerned at this point I might have a defective board. I had 5 in the end, so I tried another one, but I had exactly the same issue. I checked the device manager in Windows, and I could see that it wasn't showing any USB COM ports at all, so it was very clear my PC was not seeing it. I went back to Amazon at this point and to the page for the ones that I had bought and saw some reviews saying that every single one of the boards they got were broken. At this point I'm really worried that that's going to be me as well. However, there were some people saying that they had had issues initially and they had resolved them through a combination of driver issues and a change in USB cable. Essentially they were saying that the cable was either too long or it wasn't successfully carrying data or power. So, a bit of trial and error. I know the cable I'm using supports power because I use it for charging my keyboard and mouse when required. But when this cable was connected to my control board, the blue LED on it would blink briefly, but there'd be nothing else from it, so it wouldn't show up in Windows. There's no sign that a USB device had been connected. I went into my cable stash and got a few different USB cables to try. The first one I tried was a really cheap, short one. That made no difference. But the next one worked perfectly. So essentially I plugged it in, the blue LED blinked a little, then again, and Windows made the familiar sound indicating your USB device had been connected. Returning to Device Manager showed that the USB COM port was now detected. I then went back into WLED and was able to continue with the installation. Once WLED is installed, the board is pretty much ready to go, and if you were to connect it to your assembled lights at this point, there's some presets you can use for some pretty light shows. However, the key thing with this is making this warp core appear as it does in the TV show. So for that, you need the presets that Crazy J makes, available on Makerworld. Links to these are in the video description below. To install these, you'll need to browse to your WLED's IP address, select config from the top, and then select security and updates. Once here, you can scroll down to where it has the backup and presets and config section. Select Choose File, ensuring you select Presets when uploading presets, and Config when uploading config. When they're uploaded, hit Save, and WLED will restart. After a while, browse back to your WLED Installation's IP address and you should now see a set of presets representing the different programs you can run on the Warp Core once the board is connected to your assembled lights. Before I finish as well, I'll go into some other problems I've encountered and what I've done to improve matters. Essentially, I've had some reliability problems with the Wi-Fi when it's been powered on at the mains, or when WLED has powered it off as a soft power off and then I've powered it back on. I'm not 100% sure I've resolved all of the problems, however the settings I have changed have significantly improved the reliability. What I do still find is it's initially sluggish to connect, but it is now consistently getting to the configuration so I can set the presets. And even before these changes, once it was up and running, it was fine. It was just when it was powered off again, I'd have issues. So, here's what I did and what hopefully you can do if you have similar issues to address these problems. One of these changes is specific to the ESP8266 board I'm using. If you're using a different board, then that's not going to apply and you probably won't see it in your settings options. In particular, the other common board in use for this job is the ESP32, and from what I've read, that's generally a more reliable board anyway. Once more, you need to browse to your WLED installation IP address, or if you're using the app, open that. Go to Config and Wi-Fi Setup. Disable Wi-Fi Sleep by ticking the box, and on an ESP8266, tick Force 802.11g mode. Once that's done, just click Save and Connect. These changes should stop it putting the Wi-Fi into a lower power mode, which it can fail to wake up from. The change to using 802.11g on this board means it's using a lower power mode. It is lower bandwidth, but this type of application isn't really speed dependent. It's not a massive bandwidth hog, so it's not going to be a problem. And that's that. This project is nearly done. All that remains is to complete the assembly of the Warp Core. So putting all of the 3D print parts together over the WLEDs and installing the control board and the power supply. I'll cover all that in part 4 as well as showing it working. If you're finding these videos useful, then hit the like button and of course hit subscribe to see the final part in this series and my future videos. Thanks for watching and bye bye.